Hello again, welcome to another edition of Einstein Builds. In this video, I'm converting a functional cowl induction hood with a custom modified air cleaner on my 454 tub 70 Chevelle wagon. Hey, a lot of work goes into making these videos, so please follow my channel. I dug up from my storage truck an NOS cowl induction hood that I bought at Carlisle, Pennsylvania swap meet back in 1998-ish. This is an early 70 hood. This is the first car it has ever been mounted on. I have also in my collection all of the original OEM and NOS parts to make this fully functional. I have been sitting on this stuff for so long I figured I might as well get it put to good use. What a perfect opportunity to put it on a 454 wagon. I prepped it for flat black paint. It had a few dings from 50 years of storage and moving around. It turned out great. The hardest part was locating the factory dimple and drilling the holes through the firewall for the wiring harness to route through. This picture shows you where to find the factory dimple. The harness goes from the hood's electric solenoid for the inner flapper to a relay, then through the firewall to the gas pedal switch, then over to the fuse box. I had the factory switch mounting bracket for the switch, but I broke the switch trying to adjust it. It is a complicated thing to adjust due to some spring and ratcheting thing in there, but I got it so when the pedal is mashed, the switch triggers the inner flapper, the outer flapper works off vacuum. I cleaned up my OEM set of washer fluid squirters specifically for cowl induction hoods. They are different on flat hoods. I painted and installed the flapper and all its hardware, vacuum pod, and hose to the carb. I put the wiper squirters and cowl screen on, all the rubber bits and back edge molding, and the emblems all before installing the hood because otherwise reaching it would be impossible. Once installed on the hinges, I added and aligned the front hood catch and the hood pins. I have a Holley intake and it sits about 1.5 inches higher than the factory manifold. I really didn't want to replace it, the manifold that is, so I modified a few things to get it to work. The hood would not shut with the factory 1.5 inch spacer, so I had to make a shorter spacer to raise the air cleaner base up so the carb would clear. But that wasn't enough. I had to cut off the PVC tube from the bottom of the cleaner base and weld a block off plate over the hole, and additionally hammer dents into the bottom of the cleaner base to clear the electric choke. But everything works great. Now here's where things went AWOL. You may have noticed my snorkel is bigger than normal. The original cleaner base had a snorkel with a very small round hole with which to breathe through when the flaps are shut. And when the cowl flaps open, the higher pressure air can leak back out through that snorkel, thereby reducing the forced air into the carb. I know this is minimal, but yet it bothered me, so I made some improvements. I cut the snorkel off and later of a later model Caprice air cleaner housing from a 305 cubic inch motor in a junkyard that had a much bigger, larger oval opening. It also has a vacuum pod that is designed to be closed so heated air can rise through a flex tube from the exhaust manifold. Then once warmed up, a switch would tell the vacuum pod to open and draw cooler air through the snorkel. But I'm not using it that way. I ground the spot welds off to free the snorkels from both air cleaner housings. Look at the difference between the openings in the snorkels. It is a perfect fit though. The top picture is the original position, the bottom is the new position. Both are in the no vacuum condition. When vacuum is applied, it opens. I removed the pod and flap, flipped it over and drilled a new pilot roughly 3/8 inch higher so that the vacuum pod would work in reverse, meaning that when the vacuum was applied directly from the manifold, the pod would open. But when you romped the fuel and the cowl flap would open, the snorkel flap would close under low vacuum. Now when the cowl flap opens, the forced air all gets forced down into the carb. When the cowl isn't open, the carb has a much better intake flow. I don't know why they didn't do this from the factory. Then before painting, I sandblasted and welded it back up. One more thing I did, because I was sick of locating the seal ring on it every time I opened the hood, was I welded it to the housing. To get the snorkel vacuum pod to work, I ran a T in the vacuum line from the cowl induction hood flapper line to this new pod on the snorkel. To me, this is just a very cool improvement to the already amazing and iconic cowl induction hood, especially for this rat rod. Alright, now for the leftover part of the day. This is a 66 to 67 chevelle dash bezel. I'm not going to be using it, so if you need one, message me and I'll let it go for, say, 30 bucks to cover shipping and packaging to you. Alright, keep on rocking it, baby.